when that happens. So Peter, welcome to the chat.
Yeah,
Thanks
welcome. Yeah. No sex before marriage, Maria. That is a thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I think it's such a big one. We should just say a little bit about our channel's point of view, which is the church's point of view.
The Catholic Church.
So it's not just a mad thing like no meat on a Friday where people might just think that's nice. Not for me. I'm off to McDonald's.
Yeah.
It is more serious. Not that no meat on a Friday is also a serious thing.
This is a real biggie.
It is a biggie, mummy, and I think it's widely ignored, I would say. Mm-hmm. Like there'll be people thinking...
Oh,
there'll be people shocked,
yeah.
They'll need a Botox top up after this. Shucks, I cannot believe. That's the thing. So I would say, if I was going to say to somebody, I would say, well, look, if we take the view that God created you, which is that's a more popular view now, I think, mummy, especially Maria, especially like Jordan Peterson and people like that. I think he's more popular now than who's that guy that wrote that book? English guy, Dawkins. Yeah, banging on.
Go through all those English guys.
Banging on about 66% chance that God doesn't. Whatever he said, he's never been as popular as Peterson has, and I would say that's because of Peterson's kind of view on God. Really gets into it, asks lots of honest questions. So I would say, yeah, people are open to God exists. And if you say that, then you've got to say, well, did God create me? And if he did, if you accept that, does he love me? And I think that's that's a dangerous position. Because if somebody loves you, and maybe no one else in the world does, you're born into very unfortunate circumstances, and you might be pinning your hopes on just God loving you. Then God cares about you. And that means you can't just go sleeping with anyone, Maria. He cares. He's a jealous lover. Doesn't it say that in the Bible? I think it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Don't ask me questions.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think it does. And we'll just say he is. Say he is. And he does care. He will care.
I'm gonna call out my what's it called? Baby brain card.
I can't think. I do think it says that.
Get out of jail free card.
Some of the fans of the channel are extremely knowledgeable.
Oh yeah, they're great.
They're great.
Tell us.
So if you are loved, that puts you in a tricky position of you've got justice. Then you have to respect justice, how I care about people and how people care about me.
Mm-hmm. And this is all so far theory. Alexandra's asking, do we live by these rules? So for a start, I can put my hand up and say, well, I started out as a single mum, so. Well, as in unmarried mum. So I didn't always live by these rules, no. But when we met, made a decision that we were going to definitely live by these rules. And so I suppose I've had two different experiences. I know, in our country, in our world, the secular world just presumes that because... or they just presume that you can't resist the urges, and I think it just takes away any power and liberation for people to feel like actually they can make a decision. They don't have to just go with their urges. And as a result, it was, I really think that us not sleeping together before we got married, following the church's teachings, fueled our marriage, and it still does. I think it feels like, I just feel like...
Yeah, I think that for anyone that does it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for anyone, yeah. I feel that's what happened. I just feel like, my view of it, and my view of it before was, it was something that was going to be a dull thing, like, how could you do that? So just don't even think about it. That's a dull idea. But one of the things that I was really that's why my printer wasn't working. I really misunderstood when I was growing up was that these rules, and it's cliche, isn't it? The rules are there, and it just it's all these rules saying don't do this and don't do that, but it's for more. And I feel like when we got married, and that whole dating time of like not sleeping together was like we were aware of it, we spoke about it, but it just made everything more exciting, like not moving in together.
Yeah, I get nervous. I think men just don't care if it's exciting or not exciting.
Okay, well, don't you think that because we weren't sleeping together,
It is very special.
just like something so special, like we really are about to give everything of ourselves to each other, and the church knows that this is, and we know it is such an incredibly deep connection. It's like so deep, the deepest connection between two people. You can do this thing together that you want to keep it you need to keep it for the person. You need to protect yourself from being replaced, feeling like you might be replaced.
Yeah, if you don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens now. Anyway, what I did want to say about if God loves you, he does care about those two, like you're saying, cares about how people treat you and you're treated. And that's why it's always a thing, isn't it? I would say in its own right, so it is a rule. But even if you don't understand it fully, just there is a sin in its own right is a real sin, because it really undermines your value just to sleep about and open yourself up to being used. And the child, so the other
and
thing is...
using others.
Yeah, one of your friends was saying, it's always been sex and children. It's always been a thing in almost all cultures.
Yeah, in all cultures.
Because as soon as you get...
Yeah.
All right, if you sleep together once, you might not get pregnant, but
Yeah.
that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a lot of times. And eventually, even with contraception, which the church is against, a child is going to appear. And that child needs caring for. And the best scenario
society,
is...
Yeah, and society naturally will then need to have some sort of institution in place that will bring up these children. Survival, isn't it? The survival of our race. It will bring children up well. And so marriage is that institution.
No children really want... All children want their parents together, don't they, really? You just don't meet children. You meet a lot of kind of crazy people in the world, but don't meet children that don't want their parents together. So that's why it is such a serious gig, isn't it? Regardless of what, like this, we're not interested in what sins people have committed, and we're not making notes or filling out a spreadsheet, or just here to make the church's case, which is as relevant today, mummy, as a long time ago. Some people are going to maybe quote Old Testament scenarios, which we are not going to get into.
We're not Old Testament anymore, are we?
Yeah, we're not Old Testament anymore. But still.
Jesus King. So in all cultures, he was saying about sex and marriage being...
Yeah, and you can't... So society now, hasn't it, as it's kind of tried to strip away God, obviously it's kept sex, it's tried to put it in a place, you just can't do it. Successfully.
It's offered the option.
You've got contraception.
Contraception.
And if that doesn't work, which invariably there are some numbers where it doesn't work, then if parents still don't want the child, they're left with abortion, which is commonly the man pressuring the woman, isn't it? You know, the woman ends up...
Well, either way...
It can be either way.
Either way, it means that...
From a young age, you could be...
You know, before abortion came into place, it means that a decision was made, and decisions are made all the time, that to fulfil people's individual desires, they would be willing to the length of taking the life of their own child.
Which is, God ain't going to be cool about that, is it, at any time?
Yeah, I think this is...
If God creates life and gives that person a soul, and he ain't going to be... So look, no sex before marriage, it's protecting the individual and protecting the child. It's all value of the person, really.
And then also, like, all the problems that
but there is all those still strong feelings, isn't there? You know, people do want to get it. That's why I think...
that's right. Because then if you're really going to be able to hold on your what's that time called when you're engaged? Fiancé time. Engagement. If you're really going to be able to hold that out and work at it, it'll be worth it. If that doesn't work out in all the other ways, and you can see clearly, because this bond is so deep when you have sex with someone else is so deep that you can't just get away from it. So it's crushing, really, part of you. If you do that and then break up and you do it, it's like small deaths to yourself.
I mean, dating anyway, like falling in love.
It's enough.
It's hard enough. Like, it's a tough gig anyway, isn't it? Before, without sleeping with somebody. And then if you're when deciding to get married, I think it's just a tough gig anyway.
You want to make a right decision. Yeah.
It's hard.
But let's face it, people are talking about marriage is difficult in the world and things like that. I have to say, we have a great time.
It's not as hard as being single and working it out, and
we have a great time.
Yeah, we have a great time, absolutely. But I think that's when I hear stories of marriages that ain't.
Yes,
I suppose before I got married, I'd look around at Catholic marriages like anyone, I suppose, and more often not, I think, yeah, thanks but no thanks. But sometimes you'd see a marriage where they're not just all wearing regatta and sandals and look worn out, and they look pretty happy. And you would see the power of it. I would anyway. I kind of, it's all subjective, isn't it? But I would kind of feel the power of that marriage. I think, yeah, that is a force of something. It's more than just like two people that are going to be together until they're not. And one of the secular marriages that I kind of think, oh my gosh, this is like a good real world example is Tony Soprano. I don't suppose you ever watched that, did you? The Sopranos.
No.
Like, he was a family guy, but he would have a lot of extracurricular
activity.
Yeah, and I suppose that's what guys do. You kind of no sex before marriage is a great kind of watershed moment for where you decide: am I for God or am I for myself? You're young, you think, right, I deserve these things, or I should be getting as much as this as I can while I'm young, and trying out as many nice ladies as possible. And look, if you're into social media, you just get every encouragement to do that. But that is a tough gig doing that because, do you trust yourself? You end up with this kind of like track record of trying to work out women and make it happen and find love and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a strong position to hold, isn't it? No sex before marriage is a very strong position to hold for yourself.
One of my favourite episodes was with Laura Williams and Lance. And you have a look at it if you've not seen it. Lance was not raised Catholic, and Laura was, and they started dating.
He was CV though, wasn't he? He was like cultural.
CV, yeah, he was CV.
He was not religious. He wasn't against.
He was, but he was
up for
they openly spoke about it.
Yeah, he was up for a good time, wasn't he?
And so Laura went to him one day and thought, right, I need to now, let him know this is getting a bit more serious, that there will be no sex before marriage. So they're at uni and dating, and she goes around and she tells him, and he's just like, initially, oh my goodness, like, what is that? Like, what a lot of people think. You actually are going to do that. That's not just an ancient practice for radicals or something. And then on thinking about it, he became more attracted to her because of her saying no. And she just stood her ground. I mean, like, that takes gutsy to go in there and say that sort of thing. And eventually he's converted, he's Catholic. They've got 6 gorgeous children. They're living this gorgeous Catholic life. But she said no.
I'd say it's another sign of the culture that...
I love that.
It shouldn't be the woman saying no, but...
Good girl, Laura.
It's good. It's generally the women holding the line, not the men, which is pretty bad news, but it's good if anyone holds it, I think.
And do you know what's something that I learned when we were dating was avoiding the near occasion of sin, and probably loads of you are just like, yeah, obviously. Not obvious to everyone. Wasn't obvious to me. But avoiding those times where it's just going to be you two, because if you do love the other person, you do want everything of them. you know, you want just everything, love. You just, like, it's so exciting when you meet someone, you're engaged, you're about to get married, you know, you're going to have those feelings, and that's right, because you're going to want that to happen in marriage. But before marriage, you've got to be super careful of, you know, where to meet, you know.
It comes into it calls a lot of things, doesn't it? You've got contraception, abortion, modesty, charity. It does. You can't have this conversation without having all those other conversations.
It's true. I was just talking about us when we were dating, though. Not contraception and abortion.
I know, but
yeah, it's true.
It is. You can't. It just gets into everything, doesn't it?
It does. But I think
can't be.
A couple of things that I'd say from us. We spoke about it. We made a decision.
Yeah. I can't remember speaking about it, but we must have done.
Yeah. Well, we had quite a whirlwind of romance before we got married. Yeah, absolutely. We just spoke everything. We wanted to do everything completely the Catholic way.
I don't remember speaking about it.
Don't you?
No, I don't.
I think on our first walk. Well, okay, we were talking about marriage on our first walk.
We were asking to get married.
So what, did we just presume it then? Or we made like clear decisions ourselves, or how did we?
I don't know. I think you just know, don't you?
No.
Just one look at your dad, and I knew. That's another thing, though. I think as well, families. If your parents are pretty strict Catholics, that all just help police the whole thing. Like, if your parents are pretty casual about it, you think, oh, right, they're cool, doesn't matter. But if you, as I will eventually just start wearing a string vest, shaving my hair, telling no jokes, you know, as that...
Or tell a joke and then go really serious.
Yeah, as that part of me evolves, once girlfriends and boyfriends come round, that just helps enforce the standard. Which, all of this protects the family, doesn't it? Protects our marriage and the marriages of the community, really.
Yeah, the community, because the family, also when you've got friends that are
all of that.
Catholics, and that's why I think having a community around is...
Mate, can't do this
essential.
without. You can do it without.
The village that raised, it takes a village.
I read something, one of our...
It's very powerful.
Fans of the channel, I don't know if fans is the right word, people that follow us, he'd written on one of his posts, one of my posts, but he said every sin affects the community. I thought, right, that is brilliant, actually. Because it is easy to think, right, you might be the Catholic couple or Christian couple, oh, we're so in love, I know I'm going to be with you, we're getting married next week or next year or whatever, it's Friday night, you know, click, Luther Vandross, right, that is still... Sometimes you just need the rules. It is a sin. No sex before marriage.
Avoid the near occasion of sin.
Avoid Luther Vandross and candles, and that is just it. Because you can get too complicated about it. I certainly, not just men, everyone get complicated about it.
And for some people, like you can go through life and think, oh, it didn't really affect me so much, or I didn't really know, or I got married to that person, and whatever.
Your example affects others.
That's an example. Yeah, the example affects others, and that is an exception, not a rule. That is.
Yeah.
That is rare when it doesn't actually affect, and also you don't know how much is affected if.
Well, it has affected you insofar as if you believe God created you, and you believe there's a final judgment, it's affected you. But if you just in natural means, sometimes it can work out, can't it? If you're kind of agnostic or atheist view, I need some water in me as well.
I think like you're saying, the sin affects the community. It also can have an image. Oh, water is so good. It falls on the children.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you know, like you were saying, no child wants their parents to be broken up. And
so, look, what about a bit about?
Tough, isn't it?
Because
it's tough on them.
Yeah, a lot of us.
Really tough on them for a long time. Long time.
Yeah, it's hard, but I think the remedy for that is charity, isn't it? A loving environment, a loving family, a loving wider family. What I want to say.
What, for the child of the split family?
Yeah. But even for
first-hand experience here, guys.
For the damaged people, I think women get more damaged. Is the battery gonna? Women get more damaged, I reckon, anyway. When guys just leave them and they have to do the walk of shame in the morning and stuff like that. Like, do you trust guys and stuff after that? But I think if you do try and live up to the standard, that is a charitable act. That's kind of healing in its own self, where the next guy that comes along does say, right, you're the only one, you're exclusive, it's only me and you, babe, there's never anyone else. And that is healing, isn't it? You kind of, you treat it like a queen, like royalty. You become that special person for the other person. And not just charity, but also modesty. Like, even once you're married, you can't be, like, guys can't be watching porn, you can't be looking at other women and just think, all right, well, I've got my wife. Wife has got to be the most gorgeous, the most exclusive. It's got to be total fidelity, hasn't it? It can't be
a mixture.
Yeah, you can't mix your drinks on this.
And again, I think
I don't think you're going to reach those levels in the marriage where it's an amazing marriage. I just don't think you can.
With all that other rubbish involved.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, like, God is not a prude. It's not. Having children.
Yeah, it's always for more.
Yeah, having children is not a foregone conclusion for duller than dishwater, drudgery, duty. What other terrible words you can think of? It's just not. It's just not the case. I would even say, like, what was that lady? I started following Kanye West for a little bit because he was. I think he was coming back to God and stuff, but then he's left his bird, hasn't he? And I think I can't remember the quote, but she was saying, like, this is her third marriage and she feels like a failure. What's her name? The Kardashians.
Oh.
It is sad, really. All these, that you can have all these resources and all these looks and everything, but when you ain't got that one thing of fidelity and
you're
gonna feel it, and it all comes back to no sex before marriage in a lot of ways. That is the, and definitely for guys, you just got to think of even if you can't figure it out, the rule is there. And it's very objective. You either have done it or you have not done it. It's brilliant. The clarity is very helpful. I want to say one other thing, babe.
Also, thank you, Kitty.
Go on, read a few.
And congrats on a new baby. Very excited. Loved your post as well. It was so lovely how you wrote that.
I didn't read it. What is it? Say it again, Kitty.
Kitty and Charlie, so grateful they're expecting a baby, and however long God wants them to have the baby, because it is vulnerable time, those early times.
Yeah, it is. That's more why
we lost two of our little bubbas.
No, we did. And you need that fidelity even more, don't you, where your husband is backing you up, because babies do die in miscarriages and stuff like that.
Or things happen, all in life.
Yeah, once you start getting on and get married and get it on, it's a complicated world, you can't just watch all the episodes to find out. There was someone, babe, who was Joe, when we interviewed Joe and Rosie.
Thank you, MT Graham, as well.
He was saying, he didn't say it in the interview, he said it after, because he was a musician and fairly hedonistic. He was saying one of the things that helped him convert was that bit in the Bible where it says, only the pure see God, and that got the hook in him. It's got the hook in me.
Our mate Sebastian spoke about that as well.
Did he?
He did.
Yeah, I think it's easy sometimes to think of God as like the Big Lebowski, the dude in the Big Lebowski, and it's all love and peace. But I think if any infraction against one of his creations, if you're not repentant, you need to be repentant. You need to make amends.
Yeah, and it also is worth mentioning as well that
it's not just coolio, don't worry about it. It is, do worry about it.
Yeah, and God did raise that anyone can just get married. Two people could make that decision and get married together. But holy matrimony, the sacrament, Jesus has raised, God has raised it to this, to be able to get sanctifying grace through it. So it is
natural to see. I think the easy way is if you wear just bare feet, the cat.
No, it's not bare feet. It's just get them off at this time.
Goes for you. Maybe got grey tights.
Wiggling toes.
Got grey tights. Looks like a mouse.
Yeah. So he's raised it. So it's even like a pathway to holiness as well. It's holy marriage is incredibly special and part of our way. We want to get to heaven. So Jesus knows this nightmare that could be if we don't have this institution and then contraception and, you know, the killing of babies ultimately. And so this institution has been made and created, and that we can have that sacrament, and that is there is a thing that happens in the sacrament, and we do receive graces, and this does give us, you know, the juices that we need to be married happily and have children and do what we need to do, love each other, and
all that stuff.
Till death do us part, and all those things.
Yeah, I think of it as, I think the priest, a recent sermon said,
whereas you don't get that not being
yeah, marriage is like
yeah.
a natural institution. It naturally happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And because it's dead hard, you need supernatural help. That's what I just, maybe that's not totally right, but I just think about that, because it is dead hard. Not you, but
Peter.
But all the stuff around it, like just dealing with everything that comes.
All life, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You need help from above. And you need to cooperate, is the big thing, with help from above.
Yes.
Go on, it's some, I can't read from here, man.
Oh, Kitty. So lovely. Peterson highlights how a disciplined life reaps greater rewards. Not seeing instant satisfaction gives you the chance to live out a greater vision. Oh, I love that. Ah, hi Magda as well. Love you both talk about real life. Magda, lovely hearing from you. Thanks for hopping on. But yeah, purity. Yeah, and we do have some people that advise us on our channel sometimes, don't we?
Oh, great.
Great.
Without them.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
About things we're going to be talking about and things. And somebody compared this idea of like playing the field to, it's just that you just need different people to help you masturbate, which is just an awful thing to say and really crude, but that's kind of ultimately what it is. You know, you're not actually like making a decision to love and be with that person. It's just, and like if you can see that is what's happening, you think that is vile. You know, it is crude to say it, but if that's what's going on, that's ultimately what you're doing, isn't it? You're not, if you're not in it for commitment, you're not in it for, you just don't mind, then well, you're in it for yourself. If you're not loving them, you're not doing.
I think it might be like states as well. Like if you're,
it's almost like a business contract, like a.
You might be in it for. I think guys could be in it for. You just want to get a nice CV
or a mutual
of
understanding of.
really lovely looking ladies that you've slept with, and just helps your ego or something like that.
Oh right, those things.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah.
Naughty.
Oh gosh, I'm looking at my hair from the side. It's actually a bit of a mess. Oh crikey. Anyway, that's what happens when you're this far through pregnancy, home educating, working, and doing all these things.
To wrap it up.
Yeah, wrap it up. Thank you, Peter. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Lovely.
No, I love you too.
Thank you so much for watching and supporting us. We are so grateful and are really enjoying doing this whole big thing that we're doing. We're filming this weekend. We've got lots of exciting things coming up, so keep watching. So make sure you subscribe and click the bell that's nearby somewhere. That
I slowed down a bit lately just with.
Oh, is it? Yeah, share guys, share some stuff around. And if you
just slow down our episodes.
Oh.
Slow down. Yeah. Just work in your pregnancy. Not share.
Yeah.
But do share.
Do share. Do consider supporting us, because that really is the bottom line of how we can do it more regularly, because then we don't need to do all these billions of things around the clock just to keep our bills to be paid, you know.
You hit end, mummy.
I do. So thank you, God bless, and comment and share and all those things.